In the ancient world, surviving a battle on the losing side rarely led to safety. For centuries, across nearly every culture, captives were treated as disposable commodities, typically destined for immediate execution or permanent, unregulated enslavement. In 624 CE, a small, formerly persecuted community of Muslims faced this exact reality following the Battle of Badr. Despite being heavily outnumbered, they achieved a decisive victory over the Quraysh, the very group that had driven them from their homes in Mecca years earlier. This victory created a novel crisis. For the first time, the Muslims held 70 of their former persecutors as prisoners and possessed significant Al-Anfal, or spoils of war. The leadership was divided on how to proceed. Umar ibn al-Khattab argued that the safety of the community required the execution of the captives. Prophet Muhammad, however, preferred a policy of mercy, advocating for the prisoners to be held for ransom instead. The treatment of these 70 men established the first legal precedents for how the new state would handle the rights of the defeated in all future encounters. This image shows an ancient manuscript containing the 67th verse of Surah Al-Anfal. The text contains a specific reprimand regarding the decision to prioritize ransom, stating that a prophet should focus on subduing the enemy in the land before taking captives. The verse uses the term ithkan, which refers to the exhaustive demolition of an enemy's military power. In this context, it functioned as a doctrine of deterrence rather than a mandate for violence. The Muslim community was a vulnerable node surrounded by overwhelming forces. In this environment, prioritizing ransom was a critical security risk. It threatened to return experienced fighters to the enemy before a secure defensive perimeter could be established. This highlights a specific principle in Islamic jurisprudence. A state must ensure its own survival and establish clear deterrence before it can safely manage the release of enemy combatants. Once that security was addressed, the legal focus shifted. The very next verses declared the ransom money lawful and good, moving the community away from the immediate military reprimand and toward the long-term management of prisoners. Historical accounts from this period show a commitment to the physical dignity of the captives. When the Prophet learned that his captive uncle, Abbas, was groaning from the tightness of his bonds, he ordered the ropes loosened for Abbas, and then extended that same order to every prisoner in the camp. The ransom system was scaled to the individual. Wealthy prisoners paid their means. The poorest were released without payment. The literate earned freedom through education by teaching 10 children to read. Only 2 prisoners from the Badr campaign were executed. These were not combat deaths. They were punishments for specific, documented war crimes committed against civilians in Makkah prior to the battle. These regulations moved the process of captivity away from individual retaliation, establishing a structured framework for rehabilitation and release. This framework extended to daily survival. The Quranic command in Surah 76:8 obligated Muslims to provide captives with the same quality of food they preferred for themselves, even when resources were scarce. In verse 70 of Surah Al-Anfal, the Prophet is instructed to offer the captives a path toward redemption. The text states that if goodness is found in their hearts, they will be compensated with better than what was taken from them. This legal reclassification meant that prisoners were no longer viewed as permanent enemies. Instead, they were treated as individuals capable of future alliance and spiritual growth. This is an image of a modern international assembly hall. Many of the protections found in Article 13 of the Geneva Convention, which prohibits acts endangering a prisoner's health or honor, align with the principles established in Medina during the 7th century. The Badr precedent suggests that the true strength of a state is demonstrated through its ability to maintain justice and humanity while holding total power over its opponents.